Hello and welcome to Celebrating Simple Life. I'm Kimberly and I've been planning parties and incredible events for the past 15 years. I'm passionate about connecting people, making gatherings purposeful, and making the most out of every moment. Join me as we learn together how to find joy, celebrate the simple things in life, use events to grow your business, entertain with purpose, and have a whole lot of fun along the way. Cheers to Celebrating Simple Life. Today, on the very first remote interview on Celebrating Simple Life, the podcast, I'm chatting with Shauna Foster. You know her from the Rob Shauna Show on C95. She's an entertainment expert on 650 CKOM and contributor to the afternoon show and other Rawlco radio stations. Her voice fills us in on pop culture, daily news, TV, movies, fashion buzz, and of course some mama talk too, as she raises her two beautiful children. She has had an incredible career and even got to host a one-on-one interview with Oprah when she was in town in 2014. The way she gives back to our community gleaned her the Sterling Award for Community Involvement at the 2015 Silver Spoon Dinner. I've gotten to know her through her involvement with Cassidy's Lemonade Stand and our events together with Moxies Restaurant right here in Saskatoon. Besides her sparkling laughter and hilarious sense of humor, she believes in inspiring and encouraging others to live their best lives every day. You are going to love our beautiful and lively conversation today, so tune in.
Hello, Shauna. How are you today?
We are doing well. All things considering, it's a pretty happy household.
That's good. I feel like how are you? It has now turned into a loaded question.
It's so funny because on our show, we get texts all the time from listeners or phone calls, and I feel like we've really changed our tone in the "how are you?" It's exactly like that. It is such a loaded question, and I'm surprised, I guess, daily because overall we get the sense anyway that people, despite everything that we are dealing with and the uncertainties and the changes, that people are really trying to stay positive. Like, that's the feeling that we get, is that they're searching. They're searching hard for that little nugget of positivity, whether it's even in a sunny day outside with some warmer temperatures or, you know, binge watching a show on Netflix. They're looking for those positives, and it's refreshing. It helps make our job a lot happier.
Well, I agree, and I think that it's interesting that that's exactly how I feel as I've been having conversations with my clients and friends and people, and like connecting with some people that I haven't connected with for a really long time, just because different things are popping up and happening, and it's been, in my opinion, really positive too. And not to negate the fact that this is not positive, and it's very okay to be upset and frustrated with whatever situation in life anybody is going on in this, because everybody has their own unique story of the way life is affecting them right now. But yeah, I agree. And I feel like there's going to be so many great things that come of this, even though it's kind of hard to see that light at the end of the tunnel right now. It's already brought in really cool connections for me to be a lot more creative in what I do, since my entire livelihood is based around gathering people together.
Absolutely. Of course. Like, this is what you do for a living. What we do for a living. We talk to people for a living, and we get together. And, like, you know, you think it started out so strange for us because really the day that things changed was the day prior to the Juno Awards canceling. And we just had that sense, and I'm sure you woke up the same way and thought, well, geez, Tom Hanks has this now, and the Prime Minister's wife has this now. And we felt this real dark cloud that was over all of us. And then the Junos getting canceled. And as these events and things were getting postponed and canceled, you realize that, wow, we are not going to have those face-to-face connections with all of these people anymore because all these events are not happening. But what it has done is, I think it's giving you this new sense of community. And even just the smallest example, we're in a cul-de-sac in an older neighborhood where we're kind of the young ones. And trust me, I'm not that young. And so when we're the young ones on the street, and we have the small kids still. Jocelyn's 4, Cash is 1, and there's no other kids in our neighborhood. We're in Avalon. And the other day, there was 6 groups of people, like I would say, you know, maybe an older couple, and then there was a senior citizens couple, and they would either walk past or drive past. And of course, keeping the good social distance, stopped and wanted to talk and find out how we're doing and what to do with the kids. That's never happened in the 4 years that we've lived over here. And trust me, we love all of our neighbors. They're all wonderfully nice people. But to stop and have those conversations, how refreshing is that? It made us feel so good.
100%. Like, I think in irony of all ironies, I don't think that a lot of people on a normal day-to-day basis, because of how socially acceptable it is to just always be wildly busy. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that people realize how pressing pause, or even maybe know how to press pause. And I think it sometimes takes these lightning bolt moments of pure chaos and despair and like people being beyond anxious about what's to come to realize what's important, because we kind of need to be hit over the head with a piece of wood before sometimes we pay attention to the things that we know are important, but you kind of still allow the busyness and other things of life to get in the way and always say, oh, well, tomorrow or next week or the week after. And I don't know about you, but my schedule never frees up. And it's funny, even right now, if we're like isolated and literally have deleted 99% of appointments and schedules out of my phone and things, I still feel like I'm not getting to the end of my to-do list in a day. And I'm like, this is crazy. You know?
That's how we feel too. And trust me, you're not alone in that. And I've also had moments where I guess that it was hard for me to see through the positivity and see the good. And I had a moment just yesterday, and I know that you'll be able to relate to this, but it was a group of people that it hadn't crossed my mind how deeply they would be impacted by this, and it brought tears to my eyes. We got an email from the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Mm-hmm. And how sad is this for these little ones who are not well, and they have had these wishes fulfilled. And these wishes, whether it was one was a trip to Disney, one was to go to a taping of Ellen DeGeneres, and they've all had to be canceled because of COVID. And it just hit me. I thought, oh my gosh, here I go about complaining about having to work from the basement or whatever I was complaining about that day, or a sore throat. And here's these kids who are sick, and they're in a whole other battle of their lives. And the one thing that they had been looking forward to probably for a year in the making was this trip, and now it can't happen. And I broke down. I just started bawling, and it was just my moment where I thought, okay, yeah, your life is pretty darn good right now, and let's focus on
totally.
that.
I can relate. We actually just got, Children's Wish, Make-A-Wish,
yes,
is so dear to our hearts. Cassidy had a wish granted 4 years ago now, and they reached out to us this week too, just to be like, hey, just checking in to see how Cassidy's doing. And I could have just started bawling, because I'm like, this was such a monumental thing that happened to her 4 years ago, of getting this wish granted and getting to go meet the cast of Fuller House and down to California and doing this whole big thing. Like, we talk about it on a regular basis around here still, because that will be something that, like, one of those like bucket list moments that most people can't even put on their bucket list if they want to. Like, it's just, these like such cool things that it's reflected often of what a happy, positive experience it is. And and for some people, the clock is going to run out on these things. And that is not something that is easy to think about. And I think it's moments like that where, we have to remember to be grateful, and then also just to like refocus and be like, okay, one way that I can be grateful is to be living in the present moment and not be worried about what's happening in 5 minutes from now, in an hour from now, tomorrow, next week, because that's when I think mentally it's so easy to get really derailed, because there isn't anything we can do about this.
No, the to-do list can wait. They can honestly wait.
Yeah. And control freaks like myself who think that they have any type of control of what's going on and are reminded on a minute-to-minute basis that, in fact, we do not have control. It's very interesting how you sort of have to retrain your mind to just be thinking about life in a very different way. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what would you say as you're at home? So is your husband working at home as well? Is the whole gang hanging out at home on a regular basis?
Yes, the whole loud gang of us. So like I said, Joss is 4.5 now, and she is just a little chatterbox. She is used to being in school, and we're also at I guess maybe a delicate age with her in she has some understanding of what's going on in the world, but not enough. I mean, she's still a baby, and so she knows if you ask her about COVID, she will say that there's people that are sick and that we're trying really hard to make no one else sick. That's kind of her way of understanding COVID. And so we had to explain to her that, it was no longer okay for her to go to school because of the sickness. And I think the biggest thing in our household is that because I talk for a living and I do have to have it be relatively quiet, all I can focus on when I'm doing the show is the pattering of the footsteps upstairs and yelling about this and about that. And if they're having a fight, Cash and Joss, and she wants a toy that he took from her. So it's hard to kind of focus on what I'm doing on the show when it is so loud upstairs. But we're managing, and we're trying to embrace it. And I did this when I was on maternity leave. I also did the show from home for about 9 months. And so I had a really little baby at that time, and Joss, who would have been 3. And I just thought, you know what, I need to embrace this again and try to look for the positives. She's learning to tell jokes. She's a funny little duck. And so I bring her downstairs and say, "Kate, go talk to Rob. Go do your thing." And she'll go on the radio with him and just start nattering away. And it's been fun. It's been super funny to listen to. So we've got a very loud household. It's a busy household. Jeff is working from home mostly. He does still go in occasionally. He's the only one there. But he is working from home about 90% of the time now. But also because I have crazy early hours, I'm up usually around 3:30. Mm-hmm. And so my work tends to be almost finished. My work day is kind of done sometimes around 9 o'clock. So then I come upstairs and I put on my mom hat, and then we just do our, regular daytime thing. So I want to say that it's sort of similar to your situation, whereas the COVID hasn't really altered our schedule a ton, which is, I think, it's a good thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think honestly, that probably, obviously depending on how much media you watch and things that you see, it's very easy to get flustered in a quick hurry as to the catastrophes going on. So I already for many years since Cassidy was diagnosed with cystic fibrosis have sort of removed myself from, not removed myself from media, obviously, but have removed myself from a lot of just the news style stories that come up, and I stay in the know with what I need to know. And my husband will sometimes give me the cold notes of certain things that are coming up, but just for my own peace of mind, I have felt that that's been better for me. So I like listening to the entertaining portions of things that are going on in the world, but I kind of have to keep it pretty light in order. That's just what I am aware of for my own mental health. And some people need to know all the information in order to feel more calm because they just want to know all of the details, but that's not me. So I've definitely had to become a lot more self-aware in the last 7 years of just, okay, what is making me feel anxious? Okay, I saw this, and this today, and maybe I need to make sure that I'm limiting that and not having things pop up to me and just removing my alerts and removing different stuff just to kind of self-protect myself. But our routine really hasn't changed that much either. So that's, I think, been the thing for a lot of people, just getting into a brand new routine when for them being at home all day, every day is not their norm. I can imagine that would feel very daunting, but we haven't felt that either. So what are you guys doing? I would say we're used to being home, but we're definitely not used to being home for a full days and days on end. We're not leaving and going and doing activities or things or whatever, we lead a busy life. What are you guys doing for fun right now at home with the kids or as a family?
Well, we have been doing tons of crafts. You have no idea. You should see my cupboard.
Wall-to-wall art gallery.
Roses we're painting and, Easter crafts, you name it. We've been cooking up a storm, and I don't know about you, but I'm in a free-for-all right now with comfort foods, and
honestly,
it's been buns and cinnamon buns and baking, and I made cookies, and then I was like the kid waiting by the oven for them to bake. Like,
honestly,
with your face pressed up against it. Oh, it was depressing, honestly. And even just treats, mini eggs and chips in the afternoon and popcorn, and so we are for sure indulging, and we know it. We're aware of it. It'll end. It'll all good things come to an end, and the indulging will as well. So now it's making us feel good. And of course, the big thing is for us to get outside. And obviously, it's life is just different. We can't even go to the playgrounds, and have to be careful about all of that with the social distancing. But we've been going out for a lot of walks, which is great. Even going for a quick drive and looking at some neighborhoods. Maybe it's always fun to go look at the big beautiful new homes in Greenbrier or wherever, and we point out things to the kids and do those kinds of like nature sort of treasure hunts. We've been watching TV that we I don't even know if it's because we are really trying to keep the kids busy, but we've not done a ton of screen time. And I would have thought that we would have been the opposite and been like, here, Joss, go take the iPad. But we're really trying to make an effort to not be doing a ton of TV. And I know for myself personally, I still need about even 30 minutes or an hour just to myself. And that's harder to do when you're all in the same house for, day and night. But what I've been doing is I go upstairs at about 5:30, I run a bath, and then I take about 50 minutes and I read in the tub. And I've been reading like a crazy person again, which is good. I think that's another good thing to come from this. And that's just how I'm relaxing and unwinding at the end of the night.
Oh, I love that. Good for you. I think that that's so important because I think that's what I keep seeing sort of over and over is, this is just life 101, whether this was all going on in the world or not, being able to take care of our own self in order to be able to take care of our little people is kind of always a bit of a balancing act on a regular day. But when you're at home all day, every day, I know like my husband and I have been sort of trying to tag team a little bit, taking turns having our one guest room in the house that's now been turned into the makeshift office because my office is just in the middle of our house because I'm home alone always during the daytime while they're at school. So the open concept office is a really lovely idea when you're home alone. But yeah, like right now I hear my kids in the background. They're doing exercises and yogas. I see the weights, the stretchy bands and the little mini weights that they're creating their own routines. We've like moved all of our furniture on the one level so they can have their gymnastics mats out and like turning it into an indoor fun house is what it feels like, which is normally gives me a bit of anxiety to have things like all over the place. But you know what? Maybe it's helping with my OCD and type A as well as we go on.
I am the exact same way. I don't like things out of place. So even putting 2 offices in our house too, it really like drove me to distraction. On Sunday, we were reorganizing everything downstairs where we're both set up. And my skin was just crawling. I thought, please let this be just 2 weeks. And I think it is going to be much longer than that. So I just had to kind of ride with it a little bit. And we did the typical things too, where we were madly cleaning the house the other day and, bleaching every surface. And then you kind of wind up going, well, it's just all of us. It's all of our germs in here. And you know how it goes too. Moms can't ever get sick. And I've got a little bit of a cold right now, but I just got to not worry about it because there's no time. There is no time for such things.
I know. I hear you because if you let yourself fall into like, I feel sick, then everything else around you still keeps going on, but you just have a worse attitude about it.
Yes, exactly. That's why you just have to keep happy. And you know what else makes me happy? This legitimately does is there's so many funny memes right now going around and like, oh gosh, like hilarious memes where you laugh out loud and it makes you kind of be brought back down to earth and go, okay, again, things are not that bad. We're being told just to stay in our houses, and I think we can all handle it. I think we can do it.
There is so much uncertainty in the world right now, and while gathering and coming together needs to take extra precautions and in a lot of cases, a temporary hiatus right now, this doesn't mean that we still can't connect in unique ways to keep our relationships and connections strong. If you are on the lookout for a creative way to cheer up a friend, show your significant other, bestie, coworkers, and special people in your life that you care, I've curated adorable, delicious, and unique candy grazing boxes for you to ship out. A beautiful, delectable candy grazing box can be shipped right to your door or as a surprise to a friend's door on your behalf. Free delivery in Saskatoon and shipping available across Canada. And because we could all use a little more joy right now, you can get an exclusive code to receive 15% off by typing CELEBRATE15 at checkout. You can click right from your home at celebratingsimplelife.com and use the code CELEBRATE15 because today is a great day to celebrate.
And you know who I feel really sorry for is a friend of mine. Her husband is actually working on campus. He works with Vito. So they're in some very long hours trying to find a vaccine, right?
Yeah.
And so she's by herself. She's used to working with a huge group of people. She's by herself in their big house on an acreage outside of the city. So it's not even like she can, visit, or there's just no one out there. And she said the days are getting really long and really lonely. And I think about that. I think about even some of the seniors who are in these care homes and they can't have visitors. Mm-hmm. And I feel in those moments, okay, yes, my children are crazy and screaming and running around and we've got crafts and crap everywhere. But I think still at the end of the day, who wants to be lonely? And I feel for those people.
Well, yeah, and that kind of brings me to the next question I had was, what are some of the ways you mentioned already, like just being out in your neighborhood? I also live on a cul-de-sac, and on Friday night, we're all really good friends. We have like parties and get-togethers on a regular basis, and it's just awesome. And we're all in different ages and stages of life, but it's just like the best place ever in an older neighborhood, and we just love living here. And on Friday night, all of a sudden, I happened to walk and look out my living room window, which faces the front of the cul-de-sac, and I see all the neighbors standing on the edge of their driveways, all as far apart as they can be, all with a drink of something in their to-go cups, and just 15 minutes of just catching up. Hey, how was your week? Is everyone good? And there was a few people who had just come back from Palm Springs because they had to quickly get back home. So they were not outside, but people looking out their windows and just different things. And we were standing in our doorway, just talking out and just getting a quick little snippet as to how everybody's week was. And I could have cried. It was just so cool to see that everybody cares for each other. We're out here, we're able to connect. And I've been trying to be really creative about the ways to stay connected on things that I would normally be doing in a week anyways. So yes, I don't know about you, but we actually had a virtual, we were a little bit behind because actually we were on vacation in February and got home right at the beginning of March, right before this all hit the fan.
That was us too, though. We got home March 4th.
Yes, we were March 6th. And got off of a cruise ship, and we're at Disney World, and we're doing all of the things that are now not able to be done. And so my heart just could skip a beat thinking about the timing being differently. But anyways, everyone's fine, and we're all good, and it all was great timing. But yeah, so coming back now, I'm how do we connect with people? Well, we were behind on The Bachelor, of course, because we were on holidays and hadn't been keeping up with some of the things that we normally watch. So we had a virtual bachelor party with our friends that we always watched with, who live in Swift Current. So we never, we often will visit each other throughout the year or whatever, but we did a virtual one. So we had our FaceTime on for 3 hours. Each in our own respective spaces, and we're each having the show, and we were able to sync it so that we were watching it at the exact same time as how we had so smart PVR'd it. And so we would hear, and my husband and our buddy, they were 3, 2, 1. And we were having cocktails and hanging out and laughing about the show just as we would if we were together. Yes, it was a little bit different, but honestly, I was seeing them the whole time. They were seeing us, and it felt like we were hanging out in their living room with them, and we had a blast.
It's so fun. Oh, and by the way, Peter's now with Kelly, P.S., the lawyer girl.
Oh, my word. I clearly have missed the memo. Come on.
Oh, and his mom? Come on.
Honestly.
You had to be shocked.
Honestly, she doesn't think, I thought there were other moms before that would be up there, and then she came on, and I was wow, you have just won the trophy.
Yeah, no, that was quite the shock. That really was the shocking, final rose. But I love that idea. I love that. And we've done similar things. So Rob and I are used to obviously spending a lot of time together and sitting, a foot away from each other. And so we did a little video where he took me on a tour of his new closet that him and Cindy have recently renovated.
Oh, my word. I love it.
So I got to mock that and also mock the fact because I am type A like you, and his bed was not made, and so I got to make fun of his bedroom, and he was wearing, it was actually really cute because he had on like a nice shirt up top. And then he said, I got to show you something. And he's totally wearing his ripped up pajama bottoms on the bottom. So we had a good laugh about that. We put together this little fun video that we're going to be sharing. And that, you know what, it was just, what did it take? Maybe 15, 20 minutes. But it did feel like I was visiting with him, even though it was just over the computer. Yeah. And I just love that people are thinking of these new ways. We have a big staff meeting coming up. And there will be probably 100 of us that are going to be joining in on this Zoom meeting. And every one of us is going to be working from our homes. That's just going to be so weird to see. It's fun to me too because I'm so nosy that I love when even like the celebrities post stuff from their homes. And I like to look at their houses, right?
Yes.
You want to see how other people live. So there's also that aspect of this in that you get to be nosy in other people's home lives. And some people...
Like seeing snippets, like what's hanging on their wall? What do they have on their shelf over there? What does their backyard look like?
Yes, and some people are doing this new thing now where they're like purposely staging an area so that it looks really good behind them. The whole rest of the house could look like a total disaster, but that one little, cubicle space is, a beautiful painting or a fake plant in the corner.
I love it. Like
I think that's so fun, right?
Oh, totally. I absolutely love it. Well, and I've been following too. One of the things that I've been finding fun because I'm on social media a lot for my business, but I'm not on social media a lot in regards to just scrolling and looking at things. I'm like doing things for my own thing and for my clients and different stuff, and I'll like look through stuff a little bit, but it's not like I'm like scrolling. But one of the things, obviously, with a little bit more free time that I've been loving seeing is all of Ellen's phone calls to celebrities. Like, I can't even, it's just the absolute best. And I think seeing how real she's being and seeing that it's like Portia is the one that's videoing these calls, and then you sometimes see her reflection, and Ellen just like, she always looks great, but like clearly isn't having her makeup team and like all of the stuff put her on the way she would look like on the show. And it's just casual, and things are like messy around the house. Like you just see what's going on, and it's just real life, and it is what it is. And I'm like, okay, if Ellen can do this, we can do this.
Yes, exactly. The one that you have to watch is so funny. It's Pink, and she got kind of drunk, and she even says in the video, she's like, I've had a lot of wine, and she decides that since she can't get her hairstylist to come to her, she's going to cut her own hair, and she cuts her own hair, and it's terrible.
No, she doesn't.
It's so funny. You've got to watch that one. But those things, they honestly brighten my day. Like everything that I've been seeing on social media, normally you kind of start to feel bad about yourself, or you compare yourself to other people because it's inevitable, right? It's Instagram or it's Facebook. That's what we do. But I am loving social media maybe more than ever. And it's not to compare my life to anyone else's. It's just that you get to see other people's real selves right now. And it's kind of refreshing. I don't care if you have makeup on. I want to see you in your sweats. And that's kind of what we're all doing right now is, wandering around the house, eating bad things and in our sweatpants. And it's fun.
It's liberating.
It is.
Like I totally agree. There's so much more that's out there. And I think it's like everybody feels like there's like all of a sudden this permission that they've been given because we're all in the same boat. Like this is nobody's free of this. It is not just happening in Canada or North America. This is the whole world on board, which in my 37, almost 38 years of life, I've never experienced anything like this before. So this is new for most of us. And I haven't lived through wars or lived through other things with the age that I'm in. So this is as close as it comes for the world to all be on the same page and trying to survive together. And I think that is pretty cool despite the circumstances.
I agree. It feels like we're just all better together and trying to keep each other up and positive. And I think it's refreshing. I feel really that, yes, I do not want to, take away from the fact that there's people that are so sick and there's people that are losing their lives and losing loved ones. But I really feel that there are positive things to come out of this. And I think we're It's going to be better people. I think all of us collectively are going to be better people.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I think that if we can all just keep sharing these things and being as real as we can on this, that, yeah, you're right. That has definitely been, I don't need to hear more statistics on things, even though I want to be in the know. I want to be knowledgeable. I don't want to put my head in the sand. But, yeah, all of these cool, fun ways that people are gathering and collecting together. I've been doing a regular happy hour with some friends that we jump on a weekly basis, and we've been meeting with some of our friends from church, and like, you know, there's just like things that just keep going where I'm like, okay, all the social things that I would have been doing this week have happened, just they have very differently.
And it's not a bad thing. It's kind of a cool thing, you know. You're still trying to reach out. You're still trying to make those connections. And I'm still watching even the same shows. Although, okay, just a little nugget of bad news in all of this. They've had to postpone the filming of the next Bachelorette and of Bachelor in Paradise because of COVID. So
that was a tough thing to hear. I agree. I'm like, how are we supposed to? But we actually have, I guess we're going to see how this all plays out. But the friends that we watched our Bachelor show with, which we always have for like a decade, we're on the verge of making our reservations for our wedding anniversary to go together with them on a trip to stay at the Bachelor in Paradise Resort.
What?
True story. To be determined. This will be a whole nother episode once we're back from the trip.
I have been there. I went there. I know where it is.
Yes.
It's beautiful there. It's so cool. I didn't stay, obviously. We just went and did like a little day trip, but it's so neat.
Well, it is, and we had been in the town near the area, staying there for a while, and like had our kids with us and weren't able to actually go tour it because they didn't really want. They were really busy at the time, and they didn't want children coming into the resort that day and whatever. So we have dates picked, but haven't confirmed our reservations yet, just because there was a few other scheduling things happening for all of us, and now this has all happened, so we have postponed making any future trip plans because of that, but that's coming in 2021. So we'll debrief about the whole resort and that once we're back.
I will need to have like a full rundown of your experience. Like this year, you've made my whole year basically.
The things, I think this is a good time to be dreaming of bucket list items and adding like the craziest things you can imagine. It's like everybody's in this together. So even from like a podcasting perspective and blogging perspective, I'm like, I just need to start reaching out to every single person that seems unreachable because everybody's available right now.
Oh, can you imagine? Okay, you guys will renew your vows. Chris Harrison will do the vows for you.
You honest to goodness have no idea how number one on my bucket list that would be. And you know what? Side note, my husband gave me the most creative Valentine's present this year. And he got Jorge the bartender to do a cameo for me from the Cameo app. And legit, okay, I'll share it on my Instagram stories. Because you need to see this, and I'll text it to you too.
Oh my gosh.
He has a message just for me.
He wins the whole year, your husband, for doing that. I didn't do anything for Valentine's.
Right? There were so many people. I think I shared it on Facebook when I initially got it on my like personal Facebook page, and so many women of my friends commenting on it being like, well, thanks a lot for sending our husbands to the doghouse for the rest of the year.
No kidding. Oh my gosh.
Right? Yeah, I'll send it. It's honestly the best. We watch it over and over again. I'm like, we're pretty much best friends now, just saying.
Well, I was going to say, like, the more times you watch it, the closer you probably are. Like, you know, in your own mind.
I'd like to think. Oh, I love this. Okay, like even this conversation has been so refreshing and just feels like life can be a little bit normal for moments that you just let things go and just have some fun, hey?
Exactly, just visiting. It's just visiting. You know, that's all it is. And here's the other thing. When's the last time you even made a phone call to someone and just sat and talked to them? Like, we quit doing that, right? Because you were in favor of send a text or send a Facebook message or tag them in something, but just didn't have a conversation. I've so enjoyed this.
Absolutely. This has been amazing. So that's what we'll leave our listeners today. Call somebody, pick up the phone, dial the old digits, and actually have a conversation with somebody. And I promise you a million promises that you will feel so much better and refreshed after that all happens. Thank you so much, Shauna. This has been an absolute blast. The rest of my week is made because we've had such a fun conversation today. And stay tuned for my Jorge cameo that I will message you soon, and you can have the rest of your week made too.
Like, I need to one up you now. I feel like I need to, I don't know, like have an intro made of me with Almost Paradise playing in the background or something.
Okay, like maybe we could turn this into a competition, and we'll make some plans in the background, and we'll like get our act together and figure out how this can be a thing, because I love challenges like that.
Oh, God, this will be our special challenge just between the two of us.
I love it
so much. I had such a great time talking with you today.
This was great. Thank you so much for being on the show, and just love hearing your voice, and you are just such a light, and thank you for sharing and being so real, and I look forward to chatting with you again soon.
We definitely will. Say hi to girls.
Absolutely. Take care.
This show would not be possible without you, my incredible listeners. It would mean the world to me if you would subscribe to Celebrating Simple Life on Apple Podcasts, or download and listen on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you choose to listen. If you really want to make my day, leave a review. These reviews, ratings, and sharing screenshots of podcast episodes that were engaging for you on your Instagram stories, and tagging friends that you think should hear the episode too, really helps the podcast grow. It makes me so happy that I often select reviews to read on the show, and if yours is chosen, you will receive a special gift from me. Thank you for being a part of my mission to connect stories of business and life. Cheers to Celebrating Simple Life.